my weekend coffee chat. My name is Sharon Singh Sidhu, and today I'm going to be talking about how you can uncover your money stories to transform your financial life. So, in case you haven't met me, my name, as I said, is Sharon, and I am a certified financial education instructor. I am also a certified leadership trainer, and I help women and moms to get good with money, overcome their financial anxiety so that they can experience financial wellness. And I do this in a holistic approach, looking at the financial basics. So, the basic financial knowledge and information that you need in order to be really good at managing your money and finances. I also look at the deep beliefs that we have about money and the stories that we have about money, which we're going to talk about today. And importantly, how those beliefs and stories drive our behaviors and the actions that we take or don't take in order to live the life that we want. So, without further delay, let me go straight into the 4 steps that I'm going to be sharing with you in order to help you uncover what your money stories are. So, when I first started out on this journey to kind of to build financial wellness in my own life, I thought it was about just gaining the knowledge and educating myself about personal finance topics, which is still important. I mean, those are still important, but what's important is also to be aware of the money stories and the beliefs that you've got deep in your subconscious mind that were built and developed from the time that you were a child. So, what exactly are these money stories? Well, that's the stories that you tell yourself about money as it relates to money, and these are usually built and developed in you from when you were a child, and they were built they were usually taught to you by the people who raised you, your caregivers, society, friends around you. So, the first thing that you can do if you want to start to uncover what your money stories are is to think about what you tell yourself about money. When you think about money, what exactly do you tell yourself about money? What are the beliefs that you have around money? So, the very common one that we always hear is that money doesn't grow on trees. Um, and you have to work very hard in order to earn lots of money, and these are some of the common ones, but I'll share with you what some of my money beliefs are. So for me, the first one is a very something that um, I grew up with, was that a man is your financial plan. So typically in our society, there is a stereotypical idea that the man is the one who goes out to work and who brings home the bacon. And things are changing now in our society, and in some cultures it is the other way around. It's the woman who actually is the primary breadwinner, and she brings back the bacon while for the family. So for me, that was one of my money stories and money beliefs that I used to tell myself. Another one that's very common as well is that my job is my source of income. So besides having a man to bring home the bacon, I, as a woman, although I worked as well and I brought home income, my idea was that my job is my primary source of income. So that's another story I told myself around money. And the other one is, in order to make more money, I'll have to work extra hard. I'll have to work longer hours. I might need to travel for work and take on bigger roles that would expand, like would involve a bigger geography of responsibility, and so that would involve more travel. So, in my for work, and so that was another money story I told myself. And also the other one was that a man knows more about making financial decisions about investments than I do. I'm probably not as good with money than my husband or my father or a male figure. So that was mine, and everyone's is going to be a bit different depending on what were the stories you were exposed to when you were growing up. So that's the first step. Number one is to, first of all, be aware and conscious about what your money stories are, what your beliefs about money are, and that requires a bit of reflection. Then the second thing is to look at how your life has been built around those money stories and money beliefs that you have. So, how have those stories affected your decisions when it came to your career, when it came to your relationships? Perhaps even the spouse or partner that you chose, what were some of the things you looked out for? It also affects the language that you use. Do you often use things like, oh, we can't afford that? Or do you look at, this is interesting, how can I afford that? So it affects the language you use. And therefore that also then affects your behavior around money. So the second step is to look at how in your own life, how those money stories and beliefs have have come out and been manifested in your own life. So then for me, for example, in terms of how my own money stories and money beliefs played out in my own life, I would typically have the belief that, oh, a man is considered successful when they earn, when they're financially successful, without realizing that there are so many, potentially he could lose his job, and he then, therefore, there goes my financial plan. Or that I put a lot of my effort in building a career because I see that as my major source of income. And that also exposes me to vulnerabilities if I lose my job. And also, I may also not take up jobs that require a lot of traveling because I might think that, oh, if I want to make a lot of money, I got to go for jobs that involve a lot of travel that would take me away from my family. So those are all the decisions and choices that I have taken as a result of my money stories and beliefs about money. So that's the second step. The second step is look at how your life has been built around those money stories that you've been telling yourself. Then the third thing is to look at what do you wish was different about your life as it relates to money. So this is about how you could reframe or the way you see money, or the money stories that you tell yourself and the money beliefs that you have. How do you reframe that to help you achieve what you want in your own financial life? So this is usually the point where you reach a stage where you feel there's something that's missing, right? And then so for me, it was about what it means, for example, reframing what it means to be a good mom, for example. And does it necessarily always mean that if I can only earn more money by doing a job that takes me away from my family, and that would mean that I'm not a good mom because I'm not spending time with my kids? And so this question actually forces you to think about whether or not you could see your stories about money differently, whether there were different stories you could tell yourself about money. So in my example, I reframe my definition of what it means to be a mom, because, and also being honest with yourself, right? For me, I actually think that working helps me be a better mom, because I have very little patience sometimes with my kids, and being with them 24/7 actually leads me to behave in a way that is not as good and not as patient as when I actually have a job that I can go to and then come home at the end of the day, at the end of my work day, and actually be completely 100% present with them and involved with them and totally engaged with them. So that's one way to reframe. And again, this is not about making excuses for your behavior, but it is about reframing um, how you have been thinking about certain notions, like what it means to be a good mom, what it means to to earn more money. Does it always necessarily involve you having to take a traveling job, for example? And the other thing that I also did was that, to look at how maybe to incorporate, if you do end up taking that traveling job, how you could incorporate that as well. Maybe you could bring your kids along and actually incorporate that as part of also spending time with your kids. So that's the third point. What do you wish? Look at what you aspire to be different about your financial life, and how could you re-look at how the money stories you tell yourself in order to help you to achieve that um, that ideal or aspirational financial life that you're looking for. And then the fourth thing is to look at whether you could be happier or more fulfilled with this new reframe of your money story in life. I mean, if it didn't matter what other people thought, um, would you actually be happier if you had a different view of how you saw your money story and your money beliefs? So let's go back to the example I had about, the earlier on about how my financial belief or what one of my beliefs about money and earning is that the man is primarily um, responsible for bringing home the bacon, right? So my reframe is, what if that is not the case? What if the woman is primarily responsible for bringing back the bacon? How would that be different? Would I actually be happier that way if I didn't really care about what other people thought about that this idea that seems to be against the norm? And so I realized that, and this fourth point requires you to be very honest with yourself and who you are, and to think about, if regardless of what other people say, if it didn't matter what other people said about your choices, would that make a difference? So for me, it did, because upon deeper reflection, I realized that I actually enjoy being the one who goes out to work, and I enjoy being the one who is able to provide for my family. And I basically enjoyed being the person who brought home the bacon, and I'm actually better at that than running the household and the domestics anyway. And my husband is actually a lot better with all the domestics, like he actually enjoys grocery shopping. He would be the one who could fix a clogged sink. And he would be the one who can call our internet provider or fix the TV or stuff that needs to be fixed at home, that I number one can't, have no interest, and probably am less skilled. And so actually, if you think about, if I thought about it and was really honest about it, those we actually complemented each other. So it's not like my husband also doesn't have ambition. Of course he does. He is a financial planner himself, and he definitely has ambition about being in terms of the being the person who brings home the income. But the point here is, what I'm trying to say is that, could if you reframe your money stories, could you actually accept that, and be honest with yourself? And that is how you can also rewrite the money stories and beliefs to serve the aspirations that you have when it comes to your financial life. So those are really the 4 points I have for you today about how you can try to uncover your money stories in order to help you to transform your financial life. So the first thing is, number one, you have to be take the time and effort to think about and reflect what your money stories are, what your money beliefs are that's brought you to where you are today. And these typically go back quite far back from when you were a child. So number one is to identify what your money stories are. Number two is to look at your life and see how those money stories have affected the choices you've made, the different aspects in your life, your career, your relationships, the language that you use, how you tend to behave around money, when there is money and when there isn't, how do you behave. So all those are also clues to help you to identify what your money beliefs and money stories are. Then number three is, you are, if you're watching this, or if you're on the internet looking at how to improve your financial life, there's obviously a gap, some sort of tension or resistance you're feeling between where you are and where you want to be. So what is that gap that you are experiencing that has led you to this video, or has led you to my website to look at how do I make more money, how do I get out of debt, something that's got to do with your financial life. So look at that, between where you are today and where you aspire to be financially, what that gap is. And the fourth point is, how can you reframe your money stories and your beliefs about money to help you to close that gap and to help you to achieve the financial life that you aspire to have. And So those are the 4 points I have for you today, which you can also download. I'll put it on the worksheet in the comment section with a link to the worksheet for today's video, which you can download. So that's just a quick 15-minute sharing on Sunday morning, and I do this every Sunday morning. This is Singapore time, 9 a.m. on Sundays in the month of May, and the topics I share will always be around, the financial basics, financial beliefs, and financial behavior, in order to help you achieve to experience financial wellness in a more holistic way. So I'll see you again next week. Bye bye and take care.